GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday, the 17th of December, and let's get straight into the charts. And starting with Bitcoin, then we can see that Bitcoin has made its way up to the top of this channel that we talked about on yesterday's video. Obviously, we had followed this path drawn in very well, so I'm actually going to delete that path now because that has now played out. And as you can see, what I'm expecting here is probably a bit of consolidation around the top side of this channel. And then Bitcoin is going to come into a decision point, or it is pretty much at a decision point here, whether it actually breaks above the top side of this descending channel and then really starts to get a massive acceleration in the up move towards 120,000, potentially as high as 125 or 130,000, or whether Bitcoin continues on this path of consolidating at the top of this channel, potentially coming down and then coming back to the lower side of this channel and just really meandering its way higher, which is obviously what we've seen really from the middle of last month. So we've had about a month now of being in this uprising channel, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether Bitcoin can put more of an accelerated move together. Obviously, we have spoke about, if I just go over to the weekly chart, we have spoke about this 2.618 level starting to come into play at around 113,000. So it could be that if we can get above this channel, we could accelerate into that level around 113,000, potentially come back test, consolidate, build a bit of structure above this ascending trend line before pushing on to higher prices into January. All I will say is that we obviously have seen this trend of the market accelerating through the middle of the month, and a lot of this has had to do with the moon phases. So I know it sounds pretty ridiculous, but these have been working really, really well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see acceleration into the end of this month, and then probably at the end of the month or early January, we get a bit of consolidation before potentially trying to make a move higher in early January. Some interesting data that came out yesterday was that the FTX beneficiaries, or the FTX users that obviously lost their money in that FTX collapse, they're actually looking to pay back money at the start of January now. So again, that's another bullish catalyst, probably to send prices higher, because a lot of these people are crypto investors. They have their life savings on this FTX exchange. They lost access to those, and they're going to not get the crypto back, but they're going to get the fiat back. And of course, if they're still bullish on crypto and still want to take something out of this bull market, they're going to be jumping back in. They're going to be aping back into the market at the start of January, potentially. So what I'm trying to say is we might see an extended bid into that period of time. And obviously, when people are getting the money back, they're going to then be putting that money into the market. So early January could actually be really, really bullish. And of course, markets like to front run. So I am thinking that we could see something like an acceleration over the next week or two in Bitcoin up to the 120s, the 125s. And if I'm just looking at sort of extended targets, next targets for this move, if we just go back over to the weekly, we've got our 3.618 here up at 137. Now, that does seem pretty extended for us to get there over the next month. But I just want to say, let's just be aware of how crazy things can really, really get. I mean, that would be another from price currently, that would be another sort of 29, 28, 29% move. It's a big move, but I'm just trying to say anything's possible. Like I say, the market is still bullish here. I'm not going to get bearish until we start to see things in the charts that are making us bearish. So far, Bitcoin is slicing through all resistance in its path, all these major psychological levels, and obviously we have big buyers in the space, MicroStrategy continuing to buy up Bitcoin, Mara buying Bitcoin, Riot buying Bitcoin. We've got the ETFs that continue to buy and add more and more Bitcoin. So I just feel like this market is probably going to stay bid, i.e., still pushing higher and trending higher until we see a real overextension. And yeah, I think this is probably the first video that I'm making that I'm actually calling for or saying that there's actually a real possibility that we just get some complete overextension into the 120s, 130s, and then we see a bigger correction when the market has got completely overextended, when everybody that's waiting for a dip here finally capitulates in and realizes that they're going to miss the entire bull run if they don't actually jump into the market. So, like I say, Bitcoin obviously hanging out still above 106,000. Things are looking very healthy from my perspective. No real causes for concern just yet. If we look at the liquidation heat map on Bitcoin as well, we can see that taking its time as usual to load, we can see that we're starting to get a large number of liquidations above the price again here. So for whatever reason, the short sellers don't seem to be learning their lessons. They seem to just want to jump in and short this market at any cost. Well, at any cost. At some point, it's like, how much have you got left to continue shorting this market? I mean, surely at some point they're going to pick the top, right? If they just keep on shorting enough. I mean, as the saying goes, a broken clock is right twice a day, and I just feel like, yeah, this is just adding more fuel to that up move. So potentially, with liquidations starting to accumulate now, just above the price, you can see this is going to be right for the taking for the market makers, and I think short term, I am bullish. I am bullish on that move that I was talking about, up probably to 113,000. I think 110,000 obviously is going to be a big level, both from just a trading, but also more of a psychological perspective of it being the next big round, sort of $10,000 increment in price. So I'd expect there's a good chance that Bitcoin goes on to hit that 110,000 area over the next few days. If we look at the funding rate heat map as well, we can see here that we are totally reset. People have been saying that, calling for things like liquidation flushes and saying that actually we need to come, sort of lower on altcoins to take out some of the longs that are jumping into the market. Well, we're just not seeing any evidence or any proof of that. So you can call for these dips and flushes all you want, but it's like if you're continuously calling for dips and flushes and downsides, and the market just keeps on going higher and higher, then you're ultimately missing a huge amount in terms of opportunity cost. And at some point these guys are going to be right, but it's unlikely to be today. It wasn't yesterday. It wasn't sort of a few days ago. Obviously, last week we did get that flush, but the people seem to still be calling for more flushes in price, and I just don't really see any signs of that right now. So on this channel, we're going to keep it real. We're going to tell you exactly what the data is showing us, and right now the data, this is not my opinion. This, look, I'd love to tell you, we're going to see a nice big pullback, but for now we're just not seeing any signs of that. So I have to keep it real and say that, look, as things are, it looks like we are likely to see higher prices. I'd be surprised if we don't get another move to retest this ascending trend line over the next sort of 1 to 2 days before the end of this week, especially. And I do think that altcoins are setting up for a move higher. If we just look at Ethereum now, then we can also see what Ethereum's been up to. And Ethereum has made its way, sort of Ethereum has been consolidating a fair bit here, but it has sort of managed to get above this descending trend line that we were talking about. So if we just sort of visualize that on the weekly, we can see that this was connecting our previous bull market high to this current cycle high, and it's above that now. It's consolidating above that. It's made two weekly closes, working on a third weekly close above that level. It's now made multiple daily closes above that level. So Ethereum is just really looking to get acceptance above 4,000. Obviously, Bitcoin has now got acceptance above 100,000. It's starting to push on. Now what we want to see is Ethereum get acceptance above 4,000. 4,000 to Ethereum is kind of like the 100,000K level on Bitcoin. And then I think we can see this Ethereum breakout. And once we see Ethereum clear this 4,100 level, I really expect the altcoin space to really, really wake up. And we've talked about the fact that Ethereum tends to have its best quarter in Q1. January tends to be a very, very strong month for Ethereum. So I think things are setting up really, really nicely going into January for Ethereum and for the altcoins, probably to have a really big Q1 of 2025. Solana then, the weakest of the big three, still consolidating at the moment. It's forming this, can be called this sort of descending channel here, or if you wanted, you could also label this as a bull flag. If we just actually copy this trend line, we can put this on the bottom side of the channel. So we're looking at something like that, which is, this is charting 101. This is a pretty sort of classic bull flag pattern on Solana that's emerging. And I do think at some point Solana gets above this descending trend line. We'll obviously have to begin to extend this out a bit. But yeah, I do think as soon as we get this break above this descending channel line and above 235 really on a 4-hour close, preferably a daily close, then we should start to see acceleration in Solana, and Solana should make its way back to its all-time highs. Pepe then also consolidating at all-time highs, a little bit similar to Solana in some ways, where we're starting to form this consolidation, potentially this descending sort of bull flag pattern. I won't draw it on for now, but what I want to say is that obviously, Solana was very strong, led the market higher. Now Pepe's been very strong, leading the market higher. Both Pepe and Solana, for me, are just taking breathers in their macro bull trends. So I do expect at some point Ethereum to break 4,000 convincingly, 4,100. Solana to break out from its bull flag. Pepe likely also breaks out from this consolidation pattern, and all of these markets make their way to new all-time highs. I'd be very surprised if by the end of January we haven't seen all of these breakouts happen. Even probably by the middle of January, I'm pretty bullish, and I'm thinking that this market unlikely hangs around at these prices for too long. The dollar still consolidating just below its recent highs. Obviously has started to sort of tail off a little bit over the last couple of days in terms of this uptrend. So do we start to see a bit of a rollover in the dollar here? Obviously, that would be a nice tailwind for crypto assets that are priced in dollars. Stocks, then, looks like a bit of a gap up today in the S&P mini futures. We don't usually see gap ups like that, so that's quite interesting why that has pumped overnight. And yes, the Nasdaq also sort of pumping up yesterday. So stock markets are looking strong here. Bitcoin dominance, let's just quickly touch upon this. We're starting to see a little bit of rejection here in Bitcoin dominance, which could be good for the altcoins. So as we're now seeing Ethereum get up above 4,000, I think that altcoin dominance could start to roll back over, or Bitcoin dominance, sorry, could start to roll back over, especially if Bitcoin starts to consolidate. Obviously, if Bitcoin sees that extension I've been talking about, this likely could move higher. But for now, Bitcoin obviously is pretty steady in terms of its uptrend. And if that does continue, then I do expect Ethereum to really start to get moving over the next couple of weeks, and then probably the Bitcoin dominance does fall off. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please do smash the like, subscribe if not done so already. I'll be back hopefully later today with some updates on some altcoins. Also want to talk about some Solana memes again because they're really, really looking beaten up. And I do think we're about to see a big rotation into Solana memes probably through the next sort of rotation in this cycle, this next alt season. Probably everything does start to send, including the smaller cap stuff, including the Solana memes that have been battered. So I will be making an update on that then hopefully later today. Have a great day, everybody, wherever you are, and GM.